We analysed data from over 20,000 salespeople, including 3,000 ultra-high performers who consistently crushed their quotas. In this video, I'm going to share the secrets of their success and exactly how you can adopt the same powerful sales mindset that they have to skyrocket your own results. Listen, we all want more money, right? Fancy vacations, perhaps a sweet new car. That's the dream we're all working towards. But here's the thing, a lot of sellers get weirdly uncomfortable talking about money in their personal lives and even more importantly, with their potential buyers. They dance around it. They might mumble the price and hope the prospect magically guesses the right number. And here's the news flash, that is a terrible strategy if you're a B2B salesperson. And here is why high performers are cool as cucumbers when it comes to talking about money. Well, they see it as an exchange of value. See, you're offering a solution to a buyer's problem and they're offering you compensation for that solution. Simple, right? So think about a recent sales interaction. Did you feel a little bit weird bringing up the price, upselling them? Maybe you even apologized after talking about the finances. Well, here's the deal. By shying away from the money talk, you're actually undermining the value that you bring to the table. Now, being comfortable talking about money goes beyond not just feeling a little bit awkward in the moment when you get to that part of the sales process. High performers also ditch the people-pleasing mentality when it comes to discussing pricing. And we're going to crack that code in the last step of this video. But for now, focus on just getting comfortable with the idea of you're giving someone a fair exchange. Here is a simple exercise. Grab a pen and paper. Write down all the negative thoughts that you have about money. This could be the cliched example classics of money is the root of all evil, or rich people are greedy, or maybe it's I'll just never be good with money. All of these negative thoughts come from experiences that we've had with family, friends, and the wider society that we take part in. Now, next to each one of these negative thoughts, write a positive one. Instead of money is evil, right? Money gives you opportunities. Instead of greedy, right? Security. And I get it, Sales Nation. This might feel a little bit cheesy, but this is just a start. By acknowledging and rewriting these stories that you've got stored in your subconscious computer brain that you tell yourself, you're starting to take control of your money mindset. Remember, the more comfortable you are with money, whether it's talking about it, earning it, or having it in the bank or invested, the more comfortable your prospects are going to be with you when you're engaging with them in these conversations as well. And that is absolutely key to unlocking additional sales. Trust me, the top performers who are crushing their quotas, they're not afraid to talk about money. Now, sales can be a bit of a roller coaster, right? 1 minute you're absolutely on top of the world, the next you're facing, well, some mind-bending rejection. I've been there, I'm sure you've been there as well. That is why almost every top performer who's taken our assessment has one thing in common. They have high levels of self-esteem. Self-esteem, you can think of it like this. It's a shield that protects you from those inevitable no's that come winging your way. And think about the last time you got rejected, whether it was on an email, a cold call, someone ghosted you and didn't show up to a meeting. Did it sting a little? Maybe it even made you question the abilities that you have as a seller. It happens to the best of us. But here is the thing, the top performers that you admire, the people in your organization who are crushing it, multiple 6 figures, getting into the 7-figure brackets, they bounce back fast. They believe in themselves and it shows. So how do you cultivate this unshakable self-esteem? Well, there are 3 key things I want you to have a think about. First off is to boost your self-trust. This is the foundation. Self-trust just means believing that you can handle anything that comes your way. Imagine a challenge that you overcame in the past. Maybe you aced a tough presentation or you closed a complex big deal. Remember that feeling of accomplishment? Well, that's self-trust in action. And so, if you want a quick exercise, write down a couple of ways that you overcame a real difficulty. And it doesn't have to be sales related. We're talking about all of this, of course, in the context of sales. This is a salesman.com video, no doubt. But all of this works in your general life as well. So maybe you learned a new skill, you fixed a major problem. Just the process of writing these down, taking a look at them and going, oh, hey, I did handle that big, complex task, or that the family member that became ill and I looked after them and got them back to good health. That obviously is a lot more complicated and difficult than dealing with rejection on a cold call. By reviewing these wins, it reminds you of your capability and it builds more self-trust. Next, you need to take consistent action because feeling good about yourself doesn't happen overnight. This is not a switch you can turn on and off. It comes from taking action over and over and achieving small wins over a longer period of time. So set small achievable sales goals for this week. Maybe it's making 5 extra calls today, tomorrow, next day. Because the reality is, crushing those little goals, no matter how small, starts to build confidence. It fuels your self-esteem. And remember, and this is my rhetoric over at salesman.com when I'm coaching students in our training program, I always want progress over perfection. Hitting 80% of your goals when you've set 27 of them is much more important, and you're going to get much more progress doing that over setting one big audacious goal and then never starting off on the pathway towards achieving it. And tip number 3, embrace your flexibility. Because undoubtedly, life, sales, business is going to throw you some curveballs. And sometimes your perfect plan is just not going to work out. But here is the secret. High performers are flexible. Literally maybe, but I'm talking metaphorically here in this instance. They adapt to new situations and they see challenges as opportunities. So again, think about a recent sales interaction that didn't go quite as planned. Now imagine how you could have perhaps approached it differently. How you could have started the conversation so that objection didn't come up in the call itself. By reflecting on these situations, you become more flexible and you build confidence in your ability to handle pretty much anything your prospect is going to throw your way. Remember, self-esteem is essentially like a muscle, right? You can strengthen it with consistent effort. And the top performers who completed our assessment, they didn't get there by accident. They built their confidence, and you can as well. Now, stay tuned because we're going to take self-esteem a step further and we're going to explore how high performers use assertiveness to close more deals. Working in complex B2B sales, you can't be a pushover. You've got to be assertive to close deals. So again, think about a recent sales interaction. Maybe you hesitated to ask for the sale. Maybe you offered extra discounts just to secure the deal, or to even just feel like you're being nice. Well, here's the thing. By being overly accommodating, you actually weaken your position and you come across as being unsure about your product's value. The world's top selling performers are assertive. They know their worth, they know the worth that they bring to the table, they know their product's value, and they're happy to balance that out with the cash that they're going to get from the organization and also the commissions they're going to get on the back end as well. But how do they manage to be assertive without being an arse, without being a jerk? Well, here are 4 key principles. Right, remember when you were a kid and you constantly you felt like you had to explain your actions to your teachers and parents. An adult asks you what went on and you feel obligated to explain what went down. Well, as an adult, that goes out the window. You don't owe anyone an excuse. You don't have to explain your actions to anyone else other than a copper and a judge in court. Other than those situations, you don't need to explain yourself to anyone. For example, a prospect might ask for a discount that you're just simply not authorized to give. Well, don't feel pressured to make up a reason why you can't give it. Just say, oh, unfortunately, I can't give you a discount, but here is why our product is worth the full price. This immediately is going to reduce your stress in the conversation, and it's going to show your confidence in your offering. Next, and this might be tough, but you've got to accept the fact that you can't solve everyone's problems, and top performers absolutely understand this. Because imagine your boss starts to pile extra work on you because they procrastinated and they still need to get these things done. Well, you've got the assertive right to say no. It's their mess, it's not yours. You don't want to stay late to deal with their paperwork. You shouldn't feel bad about this. In fact, you should feel good about this. You just saved yourself 3 hours of your time that you can never get back. So remember, it's absolutely appropriate to say no to helping people when you don't want to help them. Now, things admittedly change pretty fast in sales. New information might surface, or a prospect's needs might shift at the last minute in the final seconds of a deal when it's just about to close. Well, don't be afraid to adapt your approach. Being rigid in your thought process can cost you deals. If a situation evolves, acknowledge that something's changed and then adjust your strategy accordingly. If you've got a cadence that's worked for the past 3 years and it's starting to die a death and it's not booking meetings, change it. This is not rocket science, but it's absolutely okay to change your mind, to not stick to things that worked once that now no longer work. And finally, it's absolutely okay to say, I don't know. You cannot possibly know the answer to every single question, and that is perfectly fine. Don't try and fake it until you make it. If a prospect asks you a technical question and you can't answer it, just go, okay, I don't know, but I'll find out for you. This honesty builds massive trust, and obviously trust then leads to sales. And remember, being assertive isn't being aggressive. It's about confidently communicating your value and setting healthy boundaries. If you've got being a wimp here and you've got being an arsehole here, being assertive is absolutely directly in the middle of these 2 areas. All right, Sales Nation, listen up. Forget about bending over backwards for every single customer. Top performers aren't, and this kind of seems slightly counterintuitive, they are not people pleasers. They are value providers. So think about a time that you bent over backwards for a customer, but they still didn't buy from you. This is massively frustrating, right? And it's probably hinting towards the fact that you are a people pleaser, or you exhibit people pleasing behaviors. And here's the deal. People pleasers prioritize making other people happy, even if it means sacrificing their own needs. And linked to the previous point, that is obviously not very assertive, right? And it doesn't work in B2B sales. So how do you break free from this people-pleasing trap? Well, here are 3 things to remember. First, you've got to prioritize your needs. And this might sound strange, but you've got to take care of yourself first. You need to identify your needs in your sales role. What are your goals? What are your income targets? What are the boundaries? What hours are you willing to work? How much hustle are you willing to put in? And once you know them, then you can build your sales process up to those healthy boundaries. And once all of this is set in stone, I'd write it out. I'd document this, right? So you can always look back on it. That stops you letting a pushy prospect or a sales manager who's hassling you, it stops them pressuring you into compromising what's important. And when you feel good about showing up to work every day, you're obviously going to perform much better. Next, you need to stop seeking approval. Now, obviously, we're human. We all crave validation, but in sales, it can't come from the customer. Find your validation outside of the office. And I'll go one step further. If your self-worth is tied to getting deals done, quota hit, or from your customer's approval, you're just sad. You need something else going on in your life. On a recent episode of the Salesman podcast, David Fisher mentioned how you can challenge yourself to stop seeking approval.
One of the biggest things I learned from a mentor is don't necessarily find the people that can say yes, find the people that can say no, right? And make sure that you've built a relationship with them and that you've taken care of that piece.
Next, you need to communicate very, very clearly yes and no. People pleasers often struggle to say no. This can lead to misunderstandings and even resentment from the people pleaser to the person that they couldn't say no to. Be clear and direct in your communication. If you can't offer a discount, say no. Don't beat around the bush. A simple no is much better than a wishy-washy answer that leaves your prospect hanging thinking, okay, well maybe if I push this sucker a bit further, I might be able to get something out of them. Remember that fundamentally, sales is about building relationships, building trust, and then delivering on the value that's been promised. And if you focus on those few things, you're going to ditch the people pleasing and you're going to be much more successful in your sales role. Now, that is just a handful of the traits of high performers. There are 18 traits of high performers altogether. If you want to learn more about the traits of high performers, and if you want to implement them, you can download the Sales Code book, which we cover all of this in massive detail, tons of research backing all this as well from our Sales Code assessment. And you can grab that by clicking the link in the description below this video. And if you want to continue making selling simple, why not click the video that's on the screen right now?